I'm joined now by Jacksonville-based visual artist Marcus Jamal Williams. His new exhibit, Dignity and Pride, opened at the Ritz Theatre and Museum yesterday afternoon and will remain there through May 3rd. Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. It's funny that we were just talking, obviously, about the grant recipients, the 10 that were just announced, and you're one of them. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a big honor, and I would imagine money that you'll be able to use going forward. What's your plan?
So for the grant, I decided to do a community-based project on self-worth, and I'm going to be working with members of the community and doing portraits and just highlighting people that don't, necessarily always get that attention.
Then you'll be doing kind of portraits of them.
Yes.
That's cool. So your bio says that you've been involved in the arts since age 5, and I think a lot of people would be like, "Well, yeah, me too, right? I was in kindergarten. I had the crayons." I'm guessing that you connected as an artist to that sense of being an artist earlier in a way that perhaps the rest of us didn't. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. When I was young, I was into art as most kids are, but my family kind of fostered that and motivated that in me, and recognized that I was a little more adept at it than the average 5-year-old. So I ended up going to magnet art schools. I went to La Villa and just continued doing it, my whole life. So I always say I've done it since I was 5 because that's when I really thought of myself as an artist.
That's extraordinary, and I would guess your family must be pretty exceptional to be wanting to encourage you at that young age to embrace your artistic spirit.
Absolutely, yeah. They always encouraged me anything I wanted to do. So I've done music, I've done sports, I've done all different things, and they're always very supportive and allowing me to have the space to do that.
So how has that, the fact that you've been doing this since you were a child, really shaped your understanding of the world and the work that you do?
I think it just gives me a different outlook on the things that I see. I'm always analyzing things in a different way. Um, Everything I see turns into a project in my head. Of course, I can't always, follow through, but um, it gives me a lot of uh, things to work with.
hmm And so, what common themes do we find in your work, especially as you've matured as an adult?
So I focus a lot on representation because I was very involved in the arts at a young age, and I went to a lot of museums, saw a lot of art, and um, at that age, I didn't even think it was possible to become an artist because I didn't see any artists that were black. So my goal is to present that so that kids coming up can see that when they go into museums and they can say, okay, well, I can do this too. So I focus a lot on representation, but not just black people, black women in general. Specifically, black women. I try to highlight them because I feel like they don't get a lot of representation in art as well.
And what do you bring to your representations of Black women in particular? What is it that your art conveys, and how do you approach telling their story and representing them?
Yeah, I want to elevate the subjects in my work. I want them to feel a certain importance and self worth when they view the work, and even people outside of the subjects when people see themselves in the work, it really kind of makes me feel like I accomplished what I set out to accomplish.
Let's talk a little bit about the current exhibit. What's it called, and what is it? What is its focus?
The current exhibit is Dignity and Pride down at the Ritz. And it started out as a show about black culture, which, as you can imagine, is a broad topic. So I wanted to kind of focus it in some way. And so I chose to focus on hands specifically and how we use our hands, the style that we show, communication, how we use our hands in communication. So you'll see a lot of hands in the show. And that's because one of the aspects of the show is the dap, which is something that developed in Vietnam among black soldiers in the 60s. and it stands for the DAP stands for dignity and pride, and they developed it as a form of solidarity between each other because they were, of course, they were at war, but they were also facing opposition racially between other um, soldiers.
And describe the DAP for people who may not be familiar with it.
So when you greet someone and you shake hands, and it's a little bit more of a flair to it. It's more than just a handshake. There are various different forms of the DAP. Sometimes some are more complicated than others, but it's it's a it's become more of a stylish thing, more of a kind of you know thing to kind of show off. But it's it's a common way to greet people within the Black community.
So a lot of hands in this show, and also, an effort to, as you say, to represent it, to elevate the culture.
Yeah, I want to kind of highlight some of those cultural aspects, but definitely to celebrate them as well, because some of those components aren't always looked at as positive overall.
All right. Well, thank you, Marcus Jamal Williams. It's so nice to have you here. We appreciate it.